Fellow Toastmasters and guests, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? We're all gonna die, right? At some point, it's game over. Now, for an uplifting and inspiring speech, that's kind of a dark way to start, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Well, the reason I do this is because we have to have some form of context. If we're going to talk about ways to improve our life or things that we can do to live a better life, I think it's important to realize that time is limited. At some point, there's an expiration. We don't get a chance anymore. So having said that, for those of us that are for those of you that are under 30 years of age, you probably don't ask many times, did I live, did I love, did I matter? In fact, I remember I didn't very often. I was just busy living. But for those of us that are 30 and above, maybe somewhere in the mid to upper 50s, you actually start contemplating things like this because, believe it or not, that void actually comes into focus. You see it a little bit closer as people around you start no longer being around. And so we kind of take it a little bit more serious. And for those, I would guess, that are 60 and above, 70, 80, 90, 100, you know, I wouldn't doubt if that's not a question you don't ask yourself maybe on a weekly, maybe even a daily basis. I've come to the point where I ask it on a daily basis now. I was talking about context. One of my favorite things I've ever heard was from Eric Thomas. He goes as Eric Thomas, the hip hop rapper. He's a motivational speaker. And he pointed out something I liked a lot, and it was right here. He goes, on a tombstone, you have two dates. You have the day you were born and the day you die. He said, but those aren't the most important things on a tombstone. The most important thing on a tombstone is that dash right there. That dash represents someone's life. That dash, at some point, when we pass and we expire, that dash is going to represent our life. So now that I've put this into context, right, we know that there's an expiration date. Like we throw out the milk, we throw out the lettuce. At some point, we're not going to be around. We're going to perish. So why not make the most and try to make that dash be the best dash it can be? So that's why I want to discuss 6 different ways we can change our mindset to improve our life. Now that we have a context that, hey, at some point we're all going to disappear, why not make the most of it while we're here? These are the 6 things, the 6 ideas I'm going to present to you, fellow Toastmasters and some of our guests, that you can improve your life, live with intention, design your life, evaluate yourself, visualize your life, learn to endure, and communicate your intentions. Now that we know we're going to go over, why don't we just start with probably what I consider the most important one. Live with intention. This is a big one because when you live with intention, the one thing we have to realize is the further we get from our ambitions, the more miserable we get. Let me put it a different way. When you're a kid, if you have kids or if you see other kids, they're happy, they're gleeful, big dreams. Does anybody notice as we get older, it's almost like we somehow tend to veer away from these dreams? We tend to not turn into or grow into the person we think we want to be or who we want to be when we were younger. And the big part of it is because we don't live with intention. We live life randomly. And when you live randomly, living your life randomly leads to mediocrity. And That's not happy. So what do I mean when I say live with intention? How many people here, is there anybody here, when they wake up in the morning, before they get out of bed, they make a statement to themselves and they say, I am not going to get upset today. I am not going to be miserable today. How many people? Go ahead, raise your hand so others can see. Raise it, John. Live with intention. That's one of the things we can do. That's a practice I've been doing. Because I get very upset in traffic. Believe it or not, I get like angry, right? My wife calls me the New York a-hole. She says it just pops right out. Oh, here he comes, the New York a-hole. Like seriously, if something comes up and I'm like, oh gosh, she goes, oh boy, here we go. And so I say to myself, I'm like, all right, not gonna get upset today. If I have to drive, it's not a big deal. But it's more than just that. When you live your life with intention, you have to think about who you want to be, who you want to become. You have to make those decisions. Am I going to be nice to people today? Am I going to be positive today? These are things that we have to intentionally say to ourselves before we get out of bed. Or as we get out of bed, we have to have intention with our life. If we don't live with intention, and I think many of us can relate to this, how many people live going through the motions? Has anybody ever gone through the motions at work? Came to Toastmasters going through the motions? I talk to everybody, grab a drink. Was it gin, Patrick? I sit down, I get up, I glad hand everybody, and I go home. You just go through the motions. Now I want to relate this to Toastmasters. So, how can we use Toastmasters as a training ground for these different ways? And I would say, when you come to Toastmasters, come with intention. It's just pure coincidence that our EVP and even our TME had pointed out things about having intention when we come to the club. We know going out by our name, and for our guests, this is kind of like a 5-week schedule. And we know what we're going to do 5 weeks out. But when we look up here, and we know that we're going to be, let's pick something that a lot of people don't give much thought to, the grammarian. Go through the motions. Well, as a grammarian, be a grammarian with intention. Pick a word that's interesting. Maybe a word that isn't too hard, but people don't use too often. Maybe pick a word that's like, everybody says super. It's easy, right? What a great word to describe something. But pick a word, pick a synonym of super that just sounds a little bit more intelligible and could actually help train people to not use the word super, right? If you're a grammarian, act with intention. We can do this every time we come to the club. Whether we're a speaker, whether we're the Toastmaster of the evening, general evaluator, have intention. And we can practice this right here in Toastmasters. And as we practice it in Toastmasters, maybe we take it out and I'm like, wow, what an overachiever. Great. Now why don't we start overachieving in life? So act with intention. The next one, design your life. What does that mean? Design your life. How many people here work off of a calendar? How many people in here design their calendar not to do their tasks, but to lead them to their goals? The goals to become a better marketer. The goals to give better hugs. Right? When you design your life, it works with intention. You have the intention, and now we're going to design our way to get to that intention. I'm going to be the best motivational speaker, not only has Florida seen, but the damn United States has seen. And I'm going to get up. That's my intention. And the way I'm going to design it, I'm going to go to a Toastmasters club every day of the week. If you're a comedian, maybe you go to 5 clubs every night. In fact, Dave Chappelle and them, when I watched the special, that's what he did. He said he loved being in New York because he could go and practice 5 times a night, every night of the week. You want to know what it means to be a high performer? It doesn't come easy. They work their butts off when you look behind the scenes. you pull behind the curtain and see the wizard, that wizard's sweating his butt off. Designing their life and acting with intention. So, how can we apply this to Toastmasters? How can we practice in Toastmasters before we apply it to our life? In Toastmasters, we have pathways. If your intention is to be a better leader, they've got a path for that. If your intention is to learn how to plan, they got a path for that. We can practice what we're going to, our idea of designing a life by designing our own path in Toastmasters. Who do we want to be through the Toastmasters program? Now, this is something great to actually take and apply to your life. But when you come to Toastmasters, make sure you design how it is you want to be in Toastmasters. Do you want to be an MC? Then be a Toastmaster of the evening more often. Get with Rachel. Design that. Do you want to practice? Do you want to go into the evaluation contest? Get with Rachel. Design that. Evaluate more. Be like, I want to evaluate as much as I can. I want to be a distinguished Toastmaster. I need 3 speeches. I reached out to Rachel. I'm designing my path. I said I need to speak as many times as I can. Some of them are 15 to 20 minutes, but whenever you can fit me in, please. I can't just sit back. I need to design that. And we can do that right here in Toastmasters. We can practice. Self-evaluate. Now, many Toastmasters know what it means to evaluate here, but what does it mean to self-evaluate? Anybody have an idea? Anybody want to throw something out?
Check yourself.
Check yourself.
So whenever I encounter a challenging situation, I always ask, could it be me?
That is a great way to evaluate yourself, right? Another way to evaluate yourself is all those people who raise their hands when they checked off their calendar, right? How about a weekly review? Did I check off everything? Did I have to move anything? Did I do the best of what I could each time I checked it off? It doesn't have to be just a calendar. It can be like a little list you put for yourself for that week. And you say, I need to do these 3 things this week. Another way, and I never even thought of this, another way to evaluate yourself is with guilt. I was like, what? How is that even possible? He mentioned guilt is a great way because you're holding yourself accountable. You're not beating yourself up, but you're holding yourself accountable with guilt. So you could, tonight I could get down, I could be done and be like, God, I could have really presented better, right? I'm guilting myself. But I'm not going to let it bring me down. I would say, hey, you know what? The next time I do this, I know I need to prepare more. I need to have a better laptop or a better connection. I need to get here earlier. Whatever it is, you can use guilt to help self-evaluate yourself. So, Toastmasters. How can we practice this in Toastmasters to apply to our real life? Toastmasters, we have many different roles that you can do. And every time, you can always evaluate. You don't have to just, we always think the evaluator, the speaker, right? But you can evaluate yourself. How did I do as the Oz counter? Did I miss some Oz? Did I not pay attention? Did I get so into the speech that I even forgot my role? General evaluator, did I spend more time evaluating the individual speeches than I did the overall meeting? Right? Evaluate yourself. Have other people evaluate you. Hey, how'd I do? It's not just from the evaluation standpoint of a speaker or presenter. We can self-evaluate. If we didn't do well as a topics master, then the next time we do, we act with intention and we design that. And we say, I'm going to have my questions ready ahead of time, and I'm going to make dang sure that I ask the question before I call on them. Visualize your life. Anybody heard this before? Visualize your success. Visualize yourself doing it. Right? Olympians, visualizing them crossing the line before they get there. It's a real thing. By visualizing our life, it helps us see where we need to go instead of just going through the motions. Almost every successful person that gets to success, whether it's financial, achieving their something that they never thought they could, they do it by contemplating it before they actually go through and do it. I don't know how successful this is going to be. I'll find out from my evaluator, and I'll find out from you guys when I'm done. But I did visualize myself going through this before I got up here. I visualized myself, and I want to talk about how we can apply this as Toastmasters before I continue on. I visualized it from this perspective, not from your perspective. This is when I emceed the district conference, the international speech contest, which Jane was a part of. And before I got up there, I did visualize myself try to on the stage looking out at everybody. And it's a little nerve-wracking. But visualize yourself into position, and also visualize yourself from out there. Whatever it is you want to do. If you want to be a painter, visualize yourself as the most famous painter, but also as somebody in the audience looking at you as the most famous painter. You have to go through it in your head, contemplate it, visualize it. Look 5 to 10 years ahead of your life and visualize it. See it. Have intention. Plan it out. Evaluate yourself as you're going through it. This is a big one. Learn to endure. Life is full of pain, hardship, loss, grief, regret, embarrassment. But to get to where we want to go, to have the life we want, we have to learn to endure. Those are parts of life. Everybody experiences that, these hardships. Nobody, I have not met a single person in my entire life, 45 years over, that has never had to endure anything. We all need to learn to endure. In order for us to achieve, to live a better life, actually going through the process, and we had somebody here, I'm going to go to the Toastmasters way because it's right there. She had a lot of hardships. She went through a lot. She learned to endure. Whether it was asking for help, shouldering it, going to Toastmasters. And David made a great point earlier. Toastmasters, how can we apply this here? Well, if you're scared to death to speak, but you want to go to management, you have teams that you're going to work with, you have to get up here. He said, start speaking immediately so you can get up here and start enduring that, right? What'd you call it? Lead feet, right? You don't want to get those lead feet and you want to kind of shake it off. Well, maybe you need lead feet, right, Dave? Otherwise, you're all over the place. But learn to endure. Get up here, speak. Screw up as TME as the first time, which Chiara's never done. She's a fantastic TME right out of the box. But me, I was a wreck. I remember my first evaluation was to Emmett Clary, 9 minutes long. That's the whole program. And I did it just in one evaluation. Learn to endure. And Toastmasters is a great place. If you're a little nervous in real life, come here in a safe environment. Everybody likes each other. At least we pretend to. And last, communicate your intentions. So often, we have these ideas in our head. And we're like, I can do this, this, and this. And has anybody here ever said or thought, how come somebody or how come people don't recognize it? How come they don't see what I'm capable of? How come my own wife doesn't even know that I could be a great speaker? Why? I don't get it. It's because we don't communicate it. If you want something, let the world know that you need help or you want to achieve something. And believe it or not, more times than not, Michelle, will people reach out and help you? If you can't finish a speech and like, I'm done, I can't do this, they'll reach out and help, won't they? They'll lift you up. You have to communicate your intentions. If you want to be a great speaker, tell us. Maybe Rachel will give you more speaking roles. Maybe somebody who's a great evaluator will step up, and even if they're not there to evaluate you that evening, they'll evaluate you anyway. Be like, you know what? You were fantastic. But nobody's going to know to do that if you don't communicate your intentions. How can we apply that to Toastmasters? How can we use Toastmasters to test this out? So let's say you do want to be a motivational speaker. You have to tell people that. You have to dress the part, obviously, too. But you have to let people know. And Toastmasters is a great place to do that. You can say, my shortcoming is planning. Great, EVP. Rachel's over it already. You can jump right in and start planning the whole speaking schedule. She's in. But you have to communicate what it is you're looking for. And in Toastmasters, that's what this program's all about. It's about self-development, right? But we have to communicate that. Nobody's going to know what we're trying to develop or what we're trying to achieve if we don't communicate it. So let's pull this all together, right? If we start living our life with intention, we actually sit there and consciously decide, this is how my life's going to be and this is what I'm going to do. We have to start designing that life, right? We have the intention. Now let's sit down and start planning it out, right? An intention is just that, an intention unless you start taking some action. And we need to start actually designing that to work toward it. We need to evaluate ourselves. As we're going through our intentions and our design, well, let's say we're not getting there. Well, maybe we suck at something, but we won't know if we don't evaluate ourselves honestly. And we have to visualize ourselves getting there. Sometimes it gets tough. And we have to see it there. We have to see it to want it, to be hungry. If we can't dream it, then what's gonna pull us toward it? Motivation's not always gonna be there to push you. Trust me, I know. It's not always there. Just go to the gym. I've never met one person that's motivated every day to go to the gym. I'm motivated. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I have not met that person unless they intend to do it every day and they visualize themselves at the gym and they have a vision of who they want to be. If you say, I'm not an athlete, I promise you won't be an athlete. You won't be. You just won't. But if you say you want to be an athlete, you start designing your life by going to the gym. You evaluate yourself, what could I be doing as I go there and to be better? And you start visualizing yourself as an athlete. You become an athlete. You have to learn to endure. Got to take those arrows, you got to take those slings, you got to take what life throws at us. And you got to communicate your intentions with other people. I need help. I need somebody just to talk to. Don't say anything, I'll pay you. But I just need you to listen. We have to communicate our intentions. So I want to wrap this up. I started it kind of like, what is going on here? Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? When that void gets closer for some, and for some who that void's way out. But we never know because something could happen. Let's ask ourselves these questions. Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? And know this, if we start adopting these little things each and every day, and we start living with intention, designing the life we want to live, when that void does come, the Grim Reaper's knocking at our door, and he says it's time to go. We're not going to live with regret because we started living the life we wanted. We're going to have a big O smile, right? Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? You look them right in the face, big O smile, and you say, I did.